Hi, my name is Ebba and I am a cis woman who has gone through top surgery.
Hello, my name is Oliver and I'm a trans guy who make videos about LGBTQIA+ people where they get to talk about anything they want that somehow relates to them being queer. In the beginning of April, I spent a weekend in Stockholm to hang out with my friend and his cats. While I was there, I also took the opportunity to meet up with a couple of amazing queer people who agreed to share their stories with me and my camera. This video is about Ebba, who is a cis woman who recently had top surgery. Let's start from the beginning.
Basically, my whole life I felt that something has been off around my chest and stuff like that. Like I've never felt that I have a deep connection to whatever has been going on up here. But then on the other hand, I've always been in really big girl groups, and everyone there has always been about boys and curves and boobs and all that. So I've just been like, oh, all right. I just guess that my feelings about it is normal. I don't know, we live in that sort of society. But then once I came out as a lesbian and I got my girlfriend and my wife, I've always had the support that you can feel whatever you feel about everything. And she's always known that I felt that way around my chest. And she's been super respectful, not very touchy and all that. And for myself, I love boobs on other people, but I just didn't like them on myself.
But a couple of years ago, Ebba came across the concept top surgery.
I came into the queer community on social medias and followed a lot of queer people, all kinds of people. And I started seeing people that had top surgery, but as usually trans men. So I started feeling okay, I'm happy for them. I wish I could do the same. And this was maybe 3 years ago. And I felt a bit weird about it, but I was like, oh, okay, my feelings might go away. I'm not gonna feel anything about it. And on top of this, I also had very sore breasts. So 3 out of 4 weeks a month, I just had a lot of pain, and that just reminded me of something that I was really insecure about. Later on, I was like, okay, but I was reading a lot about it, and more non-binary people came up as well on social media, and I was like, maybe I'm non-binary, I really don't know. So I started thinking about this a lot by myself, and I also talked with my wife about it, and I came to the conclusion that I had to seek professional help, but I didn't know where to start.
She was informed that she could see a therapist through her job, and she started seeing that person.
She wasn't specialized about queer people and their experience, but she was a really good therapist to talk with. I talked a lot about my insecurities about this as well, and I don't know where to start. Maybe you have connections or any recommendations on where I can start. So she helped me to get to the queer specialized hospital in Stockholm in Sweden, which is CIS.
Ebba transferred to a therapist who was specialized on queer people.
We talked a lot about gender expression and gender identities and what the differences are. You could express yourself in one way but still identify as another, because it's just social constructs. What is masculinity and what is the femininity of it all? We put it out on a scale and but how would you see yourself in terms of how you identify, and also how do you feel that you want to express yourself? When we had been talking for a couple of months, I just came to the realization that breasts doesn't really define your femininity or whether you identify as a woman or not. And I've always been very comfortable, I am a woman, and I've always known that, but just because of this social construct that we do have, I started even question myself and my identity.
Ebba also got help from other people from the community.
The trans community has been a really big part of my journey as well. I was also in contact with a person with trans experience who identify as a male. He helped me a lot, figure this out as well, but also pointing out that gender identity and expression is 2 different things, and you can still experience body dysphoria whether you have gender dysphoria or not. I had chest dysphoria, but that doesn't mean that I've had gender dysphoria.
After figuring all of this out, Ebba realized that she wanted to get a top surgery. To get a top surgery through the public healthcare system in Sweden, you have to get a diagnosis saying that you're trans. And to get that, you first have to stay in a queue for many years before then going through a thorough gender assessment process.
But I realized quite fast that I had to go through private care, as I couldn't get a diagnosis, I couldn't get this funded by the state. And also I've also felt that I've never wanted to take the care that somebody has needed a lot, like in the trans community. So I didn't want to get into the queue and take that spot from another person, especially not since I had been saving for this for a while, and I knew that if I could go through with that on my own and just go the private way to get it, I would do it. But then obviously I got into a lot of other problems, and that is obviously who could do it, like what private care would perform top surgery, especially since I'm a woman. But I started to contact different clinics in Sweden. I think I was in contact with maybe around like 8 or 10, and a lot of the answers that I got was like, we only do it if you have contact or any evidence that you are in contact with a therapist that might include you to get like the diagnosis of being trans.
But a few clinics were a bit more positive.
There was actually one in Gothenburg that was straight away like, yeah, we don't question anything, like we're just, yeah, it's a mastectomy really, so we would do it, because there might be other reasons that you could do it or want it as well. That was one option. And then I was in contact with one in Malmö as well, Reformkliniken, and also one here in Stockholm. And since I live in Stockholm, that would be like the most convenient one to go to. I was in contact with their operation manager, and she was like, oh yeah, but you have to get like the diagnosis. And I was like, but I'm not gonna get it because I'm a woman. And it was really frustrating, but then I figured like, okay, I can sit here and email with someone who doesn't like have anything really to decide, or I can just book a consultation with the actual surgeon that I want and see what he says. So I booked my consultation, and I had it with the surgeon, and then I explained quite straight away that I'm like, but I'm a woman and I'm not going to go through the procedure of getting a diagnosis either. So I'm just here really, and I'm wondering like, what is your criteria for you to do it or be able to perform it? And he said, well, I don't want you to make this big decision like here just with me, and I've seen you for like one time and I don't know how you feel or how this is going to affect you for like a long time, but have you been seeing anyone else?
Ebba mentioned the therapist that she had been seeing, and he wrote a letter to the surgeon.
And then he confirmed it. He said that was fine, and like, I think this is going to make you happier about yourself in the long run. And I was like, all right, in that case, we're just going to go through with it. That's pretty much the way that I got top surgery, and I got it in November, and it's April now.
Ebba has also gotten in contact with a lot of women with similar feelings.
After a lot of women contacted me afterwards as well, I realized that like, I'm not alone in this, and I've never been alone in this either. And I just feel like society has to step up in terms of like what defines a woman, because I know for sure that breasts isn't one of them. Obviously there is women that doesn't have boobs. I'm one of them. But also like there is men who does have boobs and also want them, and they're not less men because of that. So I just feel like the society has to come further in that.
When she had first decided to have the top surgery, she wanted to tell her father.
I did write to my father and I said, hey Dad, this is a struggle that I have had for a while, and I think I want top surgery and get rid of my breast. His immediate response was like, oh okay, yeah, I do understand, and like he's really lovely in that way, but also is there anything that maybe we could do to try to like change your mind about this? And I'm like, but why should I have to change my mind about it? Because it's so common that a lot of women want implants to make the breast bigger, and society is like, yeah, whoa, you go girl, get them Milanas. And then as soon as someone is like, oh okay, but I don't want my boobs, I just want to chop them off, and people are like, oh, are you okay? Are you feeling fine? Do you have to talk with someone? And stuff like that.
And she's gotten questions like this a lot, but she's also had other responses.
At my work, we have a group of girls and we're really, really close and tight. And then when I was like, okay, I don't want my breast, they're like, is it good for you? Like you have come to that realization. And then once I had my consultation and booked the appointment for surgery, I was like, okay, I have my surgery date now. And they were like, high five. And that was like really good to have, just because a lot of people are being like, oh, but are you sure of this? Or like, oh, maybe you shouldn't, or maybe, you know, maybe you want to have children in the future, you want to be able to, all that, you know. So it was really nice of them being just like cheering on, because I would wish, whether you want to get bigger breasts or smaller breasts or no breasts, people should just be like, yeah, you do you.
Ebba also wants to thank the trans community for the help she's gotten.
Since it was hard for me to make my own research in terms of like, I couldn't see a lot of representation of women that had gone through top surgery, the trans community has been the most helpful way for me to like do my research and finding the journey that I could go on. And also like a lot of the trans people that I've been following on social media as well has been super helpful in terms of the recovery process and all that too. And all the people that I've been talking with has mainly been trans people, because that's the people that has mainly gone through the same thing. So I've been able to ask them as well. I don't think that I would have come to this conclusion unless the trans community would have sort of like walked that way before me.
And now we're going to end this video with a couple of tips from Ebba to you if you're a woman who wants to get top surgery.
I would recommend everyone to like sort of go and talk to someone, and that's usually like a good start. And if you're really sure about what you want to do as well, contact a surgeon, because that's the person who is going to do the procedure, and that's also the person that has the most right to either decline or actually accept. And there is people out there that thinks that this should be accessible to everyone too.
If you enjoyed watching that video, please like, comment, subscribe and share the video. I really appreciate you showing your love in that way. If you also want to support the channel financially, that's possible via Patreon, but really no pressure. See you next time!